Hey everyone, welcome back to BrowncoatNerd. Today we're doing something a little bit different. Yep, we're doing a review on a digital watch, specifically the Casio F91W. This specific model is the 1CR. The F91W comes in a variety of different colors. This is the original, kind of the OG design layout of it though, probably the most common you see today. You can find these anywhere from 10 to 15 bucks on Amazon. Walmart apparently is a very good source. They'll have really good deals on those occasionally. One thing that's interesting though, do be wary of bootleg copies of this because, yep, even a $10 to $15 watch they're making copies of. So I did find that interesting. Apparently a lot of copies are on eBay. I got this off of Amazon. I don't know if necessarily ordering off of Amazon is a safe bet, but yeah. So Casio was founded back in 1946. The F91W that we have here is not their first digital watch. This one came out in 1989, but it was definitely a huge success, I guess, if you will. Still today, this came out in 1989. Still today, they make 3 million units each year of this specific design. So that's kind of crazy it's lasted for so long. This watch is also very famously known to be owned from presidents to terrorists. Specifically, it has been owned by both Barack Obama as well as Osama bin Laden, which I found quite interesting. Not the reason I got this watch, but let's dive into that. So why the hell am I doing a review on a Casio? Well, I kind of rediscovered watches, I guess, kind of in general, not too long ago. Randomly had a YouTube video pop up that was a review of the F91W, and I was looking at that, and I was like, you know what? I kind of vaguely remember either my older brother or my cousin had this specific watch, and we just thought it was really cool. It had the little LED light that would light up. And it was just like, wow, this is like futuristic. I guess I'm old enough. Digital watches were pretty cool. I remember when I was a very young kid. And kind of mesmerizing. So anyways, it kind of took me back to that nostalgia. Then it got me thinking, I don't have a watch. I never wear a watch anymore. Like when I was in high school, I had some nice like Fossil watches, I think they were. And the metal band was always too big, and I never knew how to adjust it or take the links out, so I never messed with it. Then several years ago, my father-in-law gave me an Apple smartwatch. Didn't think I'd like it. Actually loved it. It very quickly broke, which is one of the many drawbacks of the smartwatches, is they're not as durable as something like this. Just cheap, simple. Even if you do break it, oh well, they're dirt cheap. And just something about the look of the display. Like I said, I just got very nostalgic over it. But also I got thinking, I'm like, I should probably have a watch. And so I remembered when I had that smartwatch, even just using it for the time, I really liked being able to do that because I don't always have my phone on me. Also, it's kind of nice. If I'm checking the time with my phone, I'm going to hop into social media for a couple minutes, and then 2 hours later, I'm wiping the drool off my face going, oh my god, I'm still on my phone. So it's kind of a nice way to not necessarily disconnect, but reduce the connection there a little bit. So I decided to go ahead and get one. I was also very surprised that they still make them exactly how they did back in 1989, and you can still get a new one old stock. So went ahead and ordered one off of Amazon. These watches are water resistant, which means they are 30 meters or 3 bar water resistant. Now, some people will say you shouldn't go swimming with it, and I know most of you are like, I'm never swimming at 30 meters or deeper. So I don't know exactly how they measure it. I'm a novice watch collector. Disclaimer to everyone tuning into this. This is kind of a show and tell, maybe a video to kind of get some of you guys back into Casio watches. So yeah, bear with me. I'm not a pro at this. But like I said, it's 30 meters, water resistant. It has a daily alarm. It has a stopwatch. You have either 24-hour or 12-hour time options. You have the date, however, it does not have a leap year fixed in. You don't have a year to adjust for it. But you've got the month, you got the day of the week, you have the day of the month. The backlight, which, like I said, reminiscent, was super cool when I was younger. Okay, I mean, this is like pre-internet era. It's complete ass now, and it's still neat for me to like turn it on, like, oh yeah, that's reminiscent, and then it's just like it's garbage. And then it also does have a 7-year battery, which is really, really nice. A lot of people will joke around and say once the battery dies, just buy a new watch. I don't know if I'll do that. Also, something like this, kind of one of my ideas is just getting a cheap basic watch that's going to last forever. Throw it in my range bag. If I happen to be out on some property shooting or something and I don't want to take my phone out with me, but I want to keep track of time, just reach in the range bag. No, I've always got, some cheap Casio watch that's dependable in there. So also really like the idea of just having like a couple just kind of thrown into, I don't necessarily have like a shit hits the fan bag or a bug out bag or anything like that, but I think this would be a no-brainer for something like that if you do. So let's see. This watch was designed around the Hodo, probably not pronouncing that right, design philosophy, which is basically just kind of like just enough, the bare minimum, no frills, nothing fancy, and that is one of the really nice things about this watch. Other than that backlight definitely being a bare minimum, but it's simple, which obviously keeps the cost down, less crap to break. Yeah, it's nice. So my experience with it, I was actually kind of shocked. I bought this mostly just kind of being like almost a novelty. I'm like, oh yeah, this is cool. I was like, maybe I'll like it. Maybe I'll end up wearing it regularly. Wasn't really sure of that. The very first day I got it, I put it on, and it was nice just being able to look at my wrist, see what time it was. Even though I think throughout most of the evening my phone was never that far away from me, I just like not having to grab my phone and check the time. Once it got a little bit darker at night, lots of reviews on this watch when I was watching, people were complaining about the backlight. Other people were saying, oh, it's really not that bad. And I'm like, okay, it's probably not that bad. We're just used to like really good backlit displays. So let's create some ambiance here. Turn the lights off. And this is our backlight. And that's pretty much what I'm seeing. You can definitely read the hour. It's kind of a coin toss on the minutes there. So, when people say the backlight sucks on this watch, they are not kidding. But, that aside, at least it's got a backlight. I guess it's better than nothing. You can at least see what hour it is. This thing is super thin. I'm not going to go over the dimensions because if you're actually curious about buying one of these, you're going to watch another video. And they go over the dimensions in every video, so I'm going to be lazy. But it's very small. I do have I'm not going to bother putting it all the way up. Maybe I will. I have a 7¼ inch wrist. If you're going to start getting into these, that's one thing you will learn you'll want to do is measure your wrist so when you're watching reviews, you can kind of get an idea of how big it's actually going to be on your wrist, based off of, how big the reviewer's wrist is. So I've always thought I've had very small, dainty wrist. And I was, I don't feel like that's too small. I see some videos where this still looks huge on some people's wrists, but 7¼ inch wrist that I have, I think that's pretty much average, from what I've seen. So that's how it fits. The crystal, as I believe they call it, is just acrylic. It's plastic. That's just the clear lens cover, which, I mean, for $15 watch, what would you expect? But the first time I was wearing it, really enjoyed it, and I was like, well, I'll be damned. This is going to be a thing. I'm going to get a nicer one. I do enjoy wearing a watch. Another thing I see brought up all the times in reviews for this specific model is people talk about how they put it on and they just forget they had it on. They didn't even realize they were wearing it anymore. And that's not like BS. That is legit what happened to me. I was watching TV, put my hands above my head, touched my hands, and I was like, what the hell's on my wrist? I'm like, oh yeah, I'm still wearing the watch. which again, I normally don't wear watches, so I'm not used to that feeling on my wrist. I also wear my watches fairly loose, so that kind of helps too. But I was really impressed with this. I wanted something with a better backlit display, and so the very first night of owning this, I got back on Amazon and I ordered another Casio. Since then, I've ordered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think we're up to 6 now. So expect a few more of these reviews on my channel in the near future. But I really like the simplistic design of these Casios. They're cheap. This one, very retro, very iconic. You cannot get away from that. And speaking of iconic, if you're a sci-fi nerd, which very much I am, this watch was also present in the Alien movie. However, I think they took 2 of the bodies like together and then put a band on it. I'm trying to, I guess, make it look a little more futuristic. So, yeah, was also in Aliens. That's pretty cool, right? So, yeah, if you're like me and you haven't worn a watch in a long time, and this is kind of like, you know what, I would like, just be able to tell the time, get disconnected from your phone in whatever fashion. It's pretty lame when I realize if I broke my phone, the phone battery died, if I lost it, got stolen, whatever, like I have no access to the time. Even in my home, we don't have any wall clocks, which is one thing I've always been complaining about. And Mom, if you're watching this, I'm sorry. I know you bought us an awesome cuckoo clock when you're in Switzerland. I still haven't put that up. We do have a wall clock. I just haven't put it up. But it's like I could turn the TV on to see what time it is or something. I'm like, that's just ridiculous. It kind of goes back to my very unpopular video of Remember Radios, when I realized I didn't have a radio in the house, which is pretty stupid because I do live in Tornado Alley, and you definitely want to be able to listen to local news or weather, especially once the power has gone out. And just a simple wristwatch, I mean, $10, $15 investment. This watch is going to last 7 years. You're probably not going to break it. The water resistance on this, I've seen a lot of people say it's actually quite better than 30 meters. Casio seems to be very easy on the ratings. Same thing with the 7-year battery. A lot of people say, they've gotten 10 to 12 year battery life out of it. So just a simple digital watch. Doesn't even have to be a Casio. I think can go a long way. I think a lot of us have forgotten about these. Obviously not so much as radios, because we've got smartwatches. Which if you wear a smartwatch, I'm not going to make the debate of these are better than a smartwatch. They both have their advantages and disadvantages. Obviously, smartwatches can do a whole hell of a lot more. But this video is kind of geared more towards those that don't wear a smartwatch, or at least regularly, and kind of have forgotten about watches. The Casios are awesome. They're very dependable. They're very accurate on the keeping the time. There's not that much time deviation from what I've seen. And they're just dependable, and they're dirt cheap. I've bought several. Even their nicer ones are fairly well priced. They do get expensive. I mean, they do get over $200 if you want to get one with like a digital compass and a barometer and, all that stuff, which I do. But that video probably won't be coming for a while. So, hopefully I've kind of piqued some of your guys' interest, especially because I'm going to have a couple more videos on some Casios coming up. But that's the video I wanted to make, kind of exposing people to the watches. I did forget to go over the packaging. That's another very common thing you're going to see in videos. People talk about the packaging. Pay attention to the packaging to make sure that you don't get one of the bootlegged ones. However, from what I've seen, depending on where in the world you live and who you're buying from, the package is going to vary some. So far, all of the ones I bought have been off of Amazon. Let me zoom out here a little bit. And have come in this style packaging. Just a simple white sleeve. We got the model number and the barcode with like a little see-through window there. Then you got a blue box. And your watch. A little advertisement plaque there. And I guess you could display it like that if you want to. This one came with a pirate map styled directions. And I did steal that from another watch video, but my lord, when you open this up, you do. It's like, where the hell's X? Where's my treasure? But Another thing worth pointing out, I'm going to fold that up later. This particular model, very easy to set the time. Obviously, there's tons of YouTube videos out there on how to do it. You do not need it. Just play with the buttons. There's 3 buttons on this guy. And it's very, very simple to set your time. It's not very complicated. So, last but not least, being the channel that my channel is, most other watch videos at the very end, they will do a wrist check. However, me not really being a watch guy, we're going to do a lacking check instead. I figured the M92 would be the best thing out of my collection to bring along with the quote-unquote presidential and terrorist watch. There's a very popular picture of Bin Laden wearing this watch, and he's got a AK-74U, which is not what this is, but they look very similar. That one's underfold. This is actually a pistol, so there is no buttstock on it. It's got a 10-inch barrel. This particular one was made in Serbia. This is a Zastava M92. It is a AK variant. Back in the day before Serbia, when it was Yugoslavia, they kind of did their own thing. Made some modifications to the AK design and came out with a wide variety of different AKs. This one normally would have a 30-round magazine that held 7.62 by 39. That was the caliber. This particular mag is a 40-round. They would use these longer mags in their light machine guns, which was essentially an AK but beefed up to fire for prolonged rates of fire and a higher firing rate. And in that picture of Bin Laden, he had a 40-round mag. Of course, the gun that he had was chambered in 5.45 by 39, so the mag's a little bit straighter, but hey, this one's fairly close. And of course, me being me, I had to do my own thing and put a sticker of Faye Valentine on my bakelite. My buddy Evan came up with a great name for this, and that was AK Valentine. Like, holy cow. How did I not think of that? This is a fun little gun to shoot. Fairly accurate, despite having a short barrel. This is an earlier version. The ones they're bringing into the country now actually have chrome-lined barrels. This one does not have a chrome-lined barrel. And that's just going to help prolong the barrel life if you're shooting corrosive ammo. Also, it makes cleaning it up a little bit easier. But, you know, if you clean your gun regularly, that's no issue. Those have a little bit of a thicker receiver and a beefed up trunnion. You'll see a little swell here. Not necessarily something you need on this. It's kind of over-engineering for a semi-auto version, but, you know, it's not going to hurt it. It does cause it to weigh a little bit more, but, you know, I bought this back before those were coming in, and despite the newer versions coming in now, I'm perfectly fine having this one the way it is. I actually, honest to God, kind of like having the slightly thinner receiver without the bulge trunnion. You don't need them, and that's just less weight that I would have on here. So, yeah, there is my lacking check. Probably something I will do. I'll pick a good little firearm out of my collection to go along with each of the watches. And then at the end, maybe I will expose some watch collectors into firearm collecting. And we can do some hobby swapping. That sounded a little bit dirty. Alright guys, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider liking and subscribing. Also, don't forget to check me out on Rumble as well as Instagram. And of course, as always, stay safe and stay shiny.